Welcome back, guys. It has been a while, and I apologize. I'm currently sick, so I also apologize if my voice seems raspy, and also if I'm gonna have to cough or sneeze in the middle of the video. So let's hop right in. I guess what I'm gonna show you today is my PvZ style. It's just gonna be a single game, and I'm gonna show you the ideal situation that this build works under, and also I'll talk about some of the variations you do to respond to what Zerg is doing. Now, I was looking on my YouTube page, I just was scrolling through, and I saw that the most viewed video by far is my PvZ guide using Naniwa style, so the early aggression. It's certainly a good tool for a tournament, and it's still something I practice occasionally for that purpose. However, lately I've been drifting more and more towards macro styles, as I feel like that's a better way to get better. You know, it's good to be able to throw out all-ins and early aggression, but it's even better to be able to have that as part of your arsenal, that not just being your only style. So we're going to look at a macro PvZ today. It's a very adaptive matchup, so I'm going to have to do a lot of talking about what to do in different scenarios. I wish I had more replays on hand, but I only have a couple, and they're basically the same thing. So I'll just talk to you about what I do, and hopefully I can make a video in the future, maybe responding to, say, early Meatless style or something like that, and I'll be able to keep branching out. But once you know the core opening and style, you'll be able to change all you want, and I'll help you through that in future videos. So let's hop right in. You see that my run rates versus Protoss and Terran aren't that great. They're just below 50%, but versus Zerg, I'm sitting at a 60%. So I definitely say it's my strongest matchup. And I feel like there's a whole bunch of little things that I'm doing that are kind of separating me from other Protosses that we see on ladder, or the other Zerg see on ladder, and they get used to. So one thing to mention is that currently in the meta, especially after watching IM Katowice, it appears that oh, excuse me, that most Protosses at a higher level do not like Disruptor play. I think Disruptors are what makes this matchup balance. Obviously, this means that you're going to have to be hitting a lot of shots, and depending on how well you're playing, especially how well your micro is on the day, you'll be winning more or less. But obviously, I've been able to put out pretty constant numbers and pull out wins even on bad days. So, yeah, I don't think it's too finicky. But a lot of teammates, when I tell them about it, say, "Hey, man, I don't like disruptors. That's not for me," and I completely understand that. So if you don't like using disruptors, I was initially like this at the beginning of the beta. I hated PvP because it was all disruptor based. PvZ, I didn't really like disruptors either. So yeah, late beta, early Legacy of the Void, I hated them. I didn't use them. But now I've grown very fond of them. So I just recommend, trying them out. I know that all of you have by now, but really consider it as an option to play because it opens up so many avenues. So the way I see it, there's two ways to get to disruptors. The first one is your double gate Adept into double Stargate, and then you turn that into kind of a Blink-Stalker Disruptor army behind that. And you might be saying like, "Oh, Exile, what about your Immortals and your Adepts and stuff?" Well, I really like Blink-Stalker Disruptor. I add in Adepts if I see a lot of links, and then obviously Immortals if once I have like a good 8 Disruptors, I'll start just pumping out Immortals nonstop. So that way when the Ultra Switch does happen, I have a healthy number of Immortals to deal with that as well. So the second option is the one that we're going to be covering today, and that's going to be the Adept drop into Disruptor play. So hopefully you guys click with the build. I know I have. I put a lot of time into it, so I'm very proud to show this one. Let's go over to... Okay, so I did release a replay pack just of these 3 builds. It's floating around in my team chat, but I don't know how I would upload it. Probably, yeah, I just won't bother. I'll be able to cover all these by the time that we're done with this series anyway. So let's just hop into our PvZ. There's a lot of different things that Zergs can throw at you. I just used a random ladder game. I got faced against a Plat who was a previous season Masters. But, it's just an easier way to showcase what I'm trying to do here. This gambling is probably very loud. I apologize. Yeah, generally if I get as a high Masters, if I get matched against someone who's who's a lower rank, I'll ask for their real rank, because odds are that they're smurfing or that they were masters last season and just something happened. In this case, he said he's getting back into Starcraft too, and I understand that. So the map is Prion, and generally it's a Zerg favorite map. In this case, I actually like playing on Prion. Yeah, it just really, the gold base at the Natural really helped fix the map. It used to be one of those maps that Protoss is vetoed all the time, but nowadays, I actually don't mind it at all. Just stick with the player cam here. Okay, so that's your super duper easy, super duper meta opening, which is the gate gas into Nexus. Boop. And generally, this is where you branch off what build you want to do. So on Prion, I don't really like Stargate play. Let's see if I use it here. I'm pretty sure I do go for the Adept drop here. Yeah, so it, like I said, the two ways that the Disruptors are usually your double gate Adept into Phoenix, just to keep them on their half of the map while you get that tech. In this case, I'm going to go for a Adept drop, which is trying to accomplish the same thing, but investing less into Adepts, which I'm not going to use later on in the game. Oh, so at 21 supply, I generally build my gas and then rally that probe to the natural. I did something weird here, and it was because I wanted to get the Zealot. On maps like Prion and Arena, I don't skip the Zealot. So at 21, I start the Zealot. That makes me max it at 23, but at the same time, I'm throwing on this pylon here. So it is a short supply block, but I'm just playing it super duper safe. And, like, I don't know, I've just noticed a lot of Zergs, even high up, are liking their early pulls. So I'm not going to skip that Zealot. I'm going to let that Zealot chill there and deny any kind of early pull. And basically, if links do show up, you just keep them in hold position. If they start, they will start targeting your pylon. So you just kind of like float that down. Float that Zealot down there and just try to micro keep it alive until the Adept pops, and then you'll be fine. So here, I think I'm just checking for more overlords. I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, I put a probe and patrol there because the overlord drops. So I have a nifty little wall here. It's a gate, and then a gate, one unit back, and then a pylon. That's a full wall off there. It's usually you get your 2 overcharges. I usually throw a pylon by this mineral line, and if I'm getting all in, like a couple pylons up here, it's just to fight through a lot of stuff. Okay, so my double Adept, I'm being aggressive with it, but you really don't want to lose these. If you lose these, you're going to have to use your first Warpin cycle, just replacing all the Adepts you want, and you're going to have nothing back at home.
Glory to the Daemon.
So, in case you missed it, the order of the just basically tech is your Cybercore finishes, you start Gateway, and you start an Adept. When your first Adept is finishing, or on your second Adept, you'll be able to afford your Mothership Core, and then before your second Adept is done, you should be able to afford that Robo. And that's assuming you're going fully mining off the 2 gases. So here we see the Robo almost finishing. And the production cycle on the Robo is Warp Prism, Observer, Immortal, and then straight into Disruptor. So you'll see as soon as the Robo finishes, I start the Warp Prism and start the Bay. So yeah, just shade backwards. And then try to hunt for drones. I think I do find one. Yeah. Just a little bit of harass, making it seem like I'm applying pressure, but really I'm not intending to do anything except pick a few drones. So I'm up to 3 gates now. 3 gates is a healthy number when you're teching for this. After the after the Bay, you'll want to put down either a second Robo and then Twilight Forge, or Twilight Forge then a second Robo. And then once you have the minerals, you're going to throw down 2 more gates after that. So you see I go Forge Twilight. As soon as I'm just waiting on the gas. There we go. On Prion, I have a bad habit of not taking my gases early enough. Prion, you need to take your gases in your natural really early, because those minerals, like, you just start floating minerals and you don't have enough gas. Alright, so I noticed I need to saturate those. It's all good. So, as I mentioned, my mortal's popping. That came after my observer and after my warp prism. And then now that the immortal's done, you should expect to see disruptors soon. So I managed to pick everything up, get a couple drone kills, but more importantly, keep his army at home. That's all we're trying to do here. The good thing is, with either opening, they'll want to respond with Hydras, and then Disruptors are really good against Hydras and Lurkers, so we're kind of forcing down the tech path. The Stargate more so, with double Stargate, and as soon as they see Phoenixes, they kind of be crazy to go into Mutalisk. So, you can do two things. You can push when you have like 3 or 4 Disruptors, or you can unload those Adepts and just go straight into a double Disruptor Warp Prism play. And usually you try to pick army, especially in PvT, but going for a mineral line is never a bad idea with Disruptors. Yeah, just making sure we're not getting supply blocks, keeping ahead of the game. Whenever I throw down an Nexus, there's also a pylon or 2 I place down. And with Legacy of the Void, you should be throwing down a gateway after your pylon finishes by your Nexus. No point in having a pylon there if you're going to do slow warp-ins. So as you can see, 2 Disruptors at a time. My weapons is coming from my Forge, Blink is coming from my Twilight. We're still kind of applying pressure here with the Warp Prism. And I did not throw down my 2 gates after my Forged Twilight, so I'm just going to throw down a ton now. And it's around now that I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to push and get some damage done. My observer's over his army, I see exactly what he has. And we're in a very comfortable position. Now you just got to be careful because if you do lose that observer, you're going to have to build one right away. You should see my next production cycle out of my robo being observers. Let's check. Yep. See, I'm building 2 more observers since I lost my 1. As soon as you see as soon as you see Hydras, you gotta do some lurkers because even though Ling Hydra styles are not uncommon, no, they're not too common either. And Disruptors can deal with the Hydras, and then you just got a ton of Lings you have to worry about. That's what Adepts are for. We already have 4. So just keeping the pressure on, keeping his army back at home. Bit sloppy. I do lose 2 Adepts here, and I just leave. So you'll see a small supply lead, which is abnormal, but if you're pumping out Blink-Stalker Disruptor, you shouldn't have a problem keeping up with the Zerg and army size. So in PvZ, I tend to go full weapons. Even though armor level 1 is useful, I just like my stalkers being able to melt the brooches. Against Link styles, I definitely go for armor. So similarly to how a good Terran will tax you on multiple fronts, you still want to have a similar game plan when you're going as Protoss. You know, Blink-Stalker Disruptor is a very heavy, punishing front, and oftentimes you can win games just by pushing down. But you shouldn't rely on that because a good Zerg with really good macro will just have a lot of stuff, and it'll take a long time for you to whittle them down with Disruptors, even if you get decent hits. So here I'm pushing up, I'm killing all the creep, but I don't want to overextend. I have an observer in place, and verifying he took his 4th base at the gold. And I also have my Warp Prism. Somewhere along the way, I decided to deal with Charge. Charge or death speed is up, attack speed is up to you. I went with Charge because this is exactly what I was planning on doing as soon as I pushed across the map. So I started Charge and just established my front. And then now I'm going to use my Warp Prism to warp in a ton of stuff and try to pick that 4th. Meanwhile, I'm pushing right down the middle. You'll notice I didn't send those right away. I'm going to push down the middle, wait until he reacts. I set them on a separate hotkey. My 9 is actually binded to one of my mouse buttons. So Now I can just click on the mouse and then right-click that hatchery, and that was the order right there. That was you just saw. So very good disruptor hits. And this is the situation you want, right? You want the Zerg to be pushing and you kind of retreating. Use the disruptors out in the front of your army to send your volleys. Here, all I need to do is take out most of this army. I do, and all of a sudden we're in a really good spot. We've picked the 4th base, so now I'm a base ahead of him, and there's nothing he can do. So that's your ideal scenario using PvZ Blink-Stalker Disruptor. I said I was only going to cover one game, but I realized how short that was. So we're actually going to dive into a second game that I believe I have kicking around. Let's see. Excuse me. So that was a general idea. You're basically using an Adept drop to keep the Protoss at home, keep the Zerg at home, while taking up the disruptors, and you just shove them, go for their throat, or in this case, do a multi-pronged attack, because Zergs aren't used to that. In fact, it's usually the Zerg doing doing run-bys and such. So I also save all my like a lot of my losses too. Okay, here we go. So this is against our team leader Tang. It's very good. I'm his test gerbil a lot of the time. He's a very aggressive player. Like he does a lot of 2-base, 3-base all-ins and such. And he uses me kind of to practice his macro style still. So he doesn't really use ladder builds against me, which makes our games really close. He's been GM on NA and EU for as long as I can remember. So a similar idea. We're gonna use some kind of harass option. I think in this game it might be a cannon rush, and that's more of a mind game than anything else, like a meta game. Like we played against each other a lot, but it's we're gonna try to get the same thing done, which is just do economic damage, force the Zerg to stay home. Oh no, there's a gateway here, so we're fine. So a general rule of thumb is you fully saturate your mineral line and then you take your gas. So it's always going to be on 18. And then the probe that builds the gas goes to scout. That's how I always play it. And when I'm scouting the Zerg, I'm just looking for the number of bases he has and the gases on his main. So the next probe, on 19 supply, you're going to build your Nexus. And using that same probe, he's the guy that's going to build your Cyber Core. Or your Gateway, then Cyber Core if you're going double Adept. So you can see that I have my Scouting Probe, in my Nexus, my Nexi, and my Gateway all hotkeyed. Most people use the Warp Gate hotkey W, and I do as well, but before then obviously you can't use that, so I've allotted my 4 key to that. So he's just getting for cannon rushes because I think I cannon rushed in the game before. And I'm going to try to fake something here. He pulls a couple drones. I'm just trying to target down a drone. No, not going to work. That's okay, we can cancel it. And we're a little bit delayed. I should have started that Zelda a lot earlier, or just skipped it altogether, but what can you do? This just means that I'm probably not going to be pushing across the mouth my Adepts, and if I do, there's only going to be 2. I usually push across to 2 or 3, and then that meets up with my Prism later on. So full saturation in the main, just send that rally point over the natural, get that saturated too. I actually go Stalker here. So it's interesting to see what kind of style I'll be playing. Probably still my disruptive drops, I'd imagine. Like I said, I really only have one replay for you guys, so It's kind of odd. So here, different style, we're a lot more defensive. My stalkers on patrol looking for overlords over there. My militia, of course, just giving vision over the commonly dropped path between where that overlord's coming now. I'm really worried about lane drops this game for some reason. He's doing a nifty double scout just so he ensures that he gets scouting information on me. So I went 1 Stargate, 1 Robo. This seems to be an outdated style. I don't do this anymore in Ladder anymore, but we're going to see how it goes. So, a note of thumb is that when they scout your Stargate, you should never go Oracle, because they've already been reacting. Like, they've already gone home and thrown down some spores. So you see briefly I queued up the Oracle, and I just canceled it. Said, okay, I'm going Phoenix, that's fine. Looking to take a 4th base. And I'm now on 3 gates. The money 3 gates is generally what you want to be on in 2 bases. Throw down my Nexus. I already got 2 tech options here. But really the Stargate's only for Phoenix for map control. And there we go. With this style, you want to get 2 Immortals before starting Disruptors. Just because if you look now, you can see that we're really fragile. So we want to get beefy a little bit. So I believe those are Phoenix heading across the map, and they're just looking for any stray overlords along attack paths. And you can see my robotics bay is going down. So different way to get there. I guess one of 3 ways, because I said there's only 2 earlier. So one of 3 ways to get there. I talked about double Adept, double Stargate, which is still really common in meta, and a lot of GMs use it. My personal favorite, the Adept drop, and then now also this style. And you can see Tang is just pumping on Spore Crawlers. He does not want to take any damage from this. Which is strange because he's also doing Needleless, so... He complained after the game about being broke, but... I don't know if he should be building 6 Spores. I think he's overreacting. I think he might think I threw down another Stargate. Because right now, we only have the 2 Phoenix. Yeah. Yeah, that's not gonna work. So I'm going down a different avenue, kind of, this game. It appears that I'll be going Chargelets instead of Blink-Stalkers. I dabbled for this style for a very short amount of time. It's still definitely something I could bust out in the tournament. Oh no, I'm getting Blink, so maybe those zealots are just because those floating minerals. I'm definitely worried about Tang doing something here. He's a very cheesy player, so I haven't really got a lot of vision on the map. Kind of left guessing. So I'm building another Robo, and my Disruptor production's already going. We can see Tang is throwing down a ton of Corruptors. I'm kind of confused why. I think he's still convinced I went heavy Stargate. If we look at Tang's vision, assuming he clicked on both, he knows that there's 1 Robo and 1 Stargate. So I don't know where I'm setting these zealots. Oh, I think I'm setting them around for to harass his 4th. You can see a common theme in PvZ, especially mine, is that we want to be taxing the Zerg, we want to be making him move his army a lot. Because the moment he manages to push out of his base and burrow those lurkers in front of yours, it makes the game a lot harder. So we have ways of keeping him back. So here's a lucky scout here. I noticed that his 4th base is not yet finished. I'm going to try to pick it, but I also get a look at his army comp for the first time. So it was mainly Roach based with a whole bunch of corruptors to prevent Colossus. But that's okay, because we're just going to rely on Archons and Chargelets to deal with that. Also note I'm warping in from slow pylons. That's something I've changed recently in my style. So 2 disruptors at a time, Archon, Blink-Stalker, an unorthodox composition, but one that's effective against his nonetheless. So we see him push out here. Let's drive those pesky corruptors away with some photon overcharges. He wants to engage. That's okay, I like engaging too. We're just gonna both pull back though. Yeah, something that I've definitely worked on since this replay has been warping in from gateway pylons. When I was streaming a lot, it was something that all my viewers would always harass me about, so I got better. So a couple disruptor shots is all it takes to make this a 1A scenario. There we go. Catch this army out. And we're just going to drive it right back home. Warping in more, and we're already saturated that 4th base, so we're looking at a very good spot at the moment. Now, I'd be willing to bet those corruptors want to turn into Broodlords. I'm just targeting them down. So, it takes 2 disruptor shots to kill Lurker. It also takes 2 disruptor shots to kill Larva. So whatever he was building there, I denied all of it. Sorry, Larva and a Cocoon. They're both the same number of shots. Do Larva and Cocoons have the same stats? So a Larva... Oh, he just used all this Larva. Well, I guess that's for some of you elite few to know, and for me to never find out. So, wow, that's a lot of Hydralisks. It's okay. He's trying to drive me back. This is what I said. As soon as the Zerg starts chasing you, he's in a little bit of trouble. You can just keep throwing those disruptor shots behind you. I think I might do that here. Yeah, turn on it now. I have a lot of Stalkers. Stalkers are not good against Hydralisks, but the fact that Disruptors and Archons are around, that's good news. So let's saturate those gases. I'm floating a bit of minerals. Those will probably be a Nexus. It's never a bad idea to expand. I tried. Okay. We're going to move in again with our Disruptor Heavy Army. He isn't invested into Lurkers yet. I think he's just trying to power towards that Broodlord tech. Against Lurkers, this becomes a lot easier. You just identify where the Lurkers are, just send 2 Disruptor shots out, and it kills the Lurker. Disruptors are really good at zoning armies too, so generally you're able to keep them off your back for a bit. Lucky Scout here by the Phoenixes that I kept alive, something I rarely do when I open Phoenix. Mutaswitches always kill me later in the game. Generally because I lose these starting Phoenixes. Not today. So this should be one of the final engages here. See, money disruptor shots. Got a strong backbone of Stalker Archon. And it's infinitely harder. Some people complain that it's hard to land disruptor shots. It's infinitely harder for a Zerg to split his army against that. Especially because Zerg is still a race that you want to be getting a nice concave and strong engages, a lot of units. It's hard to control all those units effectively. So even when they do split, you still get a healthy clump of units. Generally, whenever you walk into morphing Broodlords on his side of the map, it's game over. So I just send a small army up here, and I think I'm just baiting for him to do exactly that. Legacy of the Void has kind of shifted more in towards army control, more micro elements than macro elements. It's still important to have really clean builds and mechanics, but it's less important than it was in Heart of the Swarm. Oftentimes you might accidentally delay attack, and it's not the end of the world as long as you can control your existing army. So here we just see tank has nothing left. Moving up, and that's gonna be it. So hopefully that gave you enough to go by. We got to see in Game 1 an Adept dropped into Blink-Stalker Disruptor, and in Game 2 we got to see a single Stargate Phoenix, of which he overreacted to because he thought it was 2 Stargate Phoenix, and into the same comp, Blink-Stalker Disruptor. In that game you got to see a little bit of how I react to seeing a lot of Lings and Hydras especially. If I saw a lot of Lings earlier on in the game, there'd be a lot of Adepts in there with the Adept attack speed started as soon as Blink finished. But in this game, I was able to get on 3 bases before I identified that he was going for Roachling. Because of that, I already had the Twilight down and up, so I just threw down my Tableau Archives and just morphed in a whole bunch of Archons to deal with that. The Lings and Hydras were never really a problem. If you would have gone Lurkers, it probably would have been easier for me, already having tons of Disruptors up. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you can turn those PvZ numbers around. A lot of the tosses I've talked to have been having a lot of struggle with this matchup, especially browsing Reddit. People are asking, what to do, and it's difficult because I think in order to win this matchup, no matter what style you do, you need really good army control. And I don't think that's necessarily the same for Zerg. This is a lot less macro-intensive like Heart of the Swarm, so you're going to have to learn some new tricks. Even lower levels, Storm is really good if you're learning micro. It's less cutthroat than Disruptors, and instant cast certainly helps. So, thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.